Hello, EctoSage here on the Sage channel. It is Sleep, Art, Game, and Eat, and today we're taking a look at this large cargo craft. It's actually a civilian transport, not for really transporting civilians, but for transporting cargo about in safe space. And as I fly along the front, you'll notice that we have this large array of windows here. That's the bridge. I'm just going to really quickly go through all the basics of the ship. As we fly along here, you'll see these large modular sections. That's where the cargo is stored, with the exception of that one. And you can see these doors that run along the sides. These are all airlocks that lead into the cargo hold. As we come along to the back of the ship, we have this little dividing overpass or walkway that leads to the engine section, where you can see we have our braking engines there, our maneuvering thrusters on the sides, and actually above. And of course these ones on above are mirrored on the bottom. And then once we get to the back, you can see we have a large array of large engines to get this ship going at a fast speed, and these are actually tiled up behind each other. That way it has a whole lot more acceleration than you would otherwise think. Now, as I fly back towards the front, you'll notice the paint job, which you might say it's a bit bland. I actually like it an awful lot, especially when the light hits it about like it is right now. It really looks sort of like a shiny metal. The darker color here and even the lighter color are both blues. This is more of your standard almost purple blue, and this is more of a teal that ends up looking rather green. I like it a lot. I got my nice exterior lights, and I'm actually rather fond of just the colors I chose for this ship. And considering it's a civilian ship is one of the reasons it doesn't have the usual black and red that I shoot for more of my militaristic stuff. So anyway, in here, I'm going to pop on my UI now. You can see we have our nice orange lights. This is a sort of warning. You're in an area that could be depressurized at any moment. But as we go through this door, it leads into the bridge slash civilian area, or I guess crew area. We're over here near these windows slash doors, which I don't actually have any nice models for right now. I'd actually like to make a custom model that would just be a window like this, but that's where the controls would be. Everything would be set up there. But on this side, you probably have your more civilian eatery area, just relaxation for the crew during a long haul. In these rooms that you might have noticed along the sides, this one's going to be a bit weird because it's so close to the external wall, but these are basically where the crew would sleep. You'd have a nice little bed, the restroom cube set up, and maybe a little office something. I left them blank right now because I didn't exactly have everything I need to make a proper room. This is just another one to show you what it looks like without the exterior wall causing some color differences. Anyway, as we head down this hallway here, those rooms there and there, by the way, are just the mirrors of the two I was just in. You'll notice, once again, we're in a yellow hallway. And you might be saying, okay, is this place going to depressurize? Not necessarily, but it is sort of close to something that could, which actually, if we were to fly up here, you'll notice something weird's happening in my bottom corner there. The gravity generator is showing something strange. What's this? Yes, indeed, we have a multi-gravity sort of environment on this ship. So, down there's the floor we were on a second ago, and now we're on this new floor. And to our right is actually the cargo holds. And I'll open up this door here and walk out into the cargo holds, and you might notice something fairly strange. That doesn't look like much room to store your cargo. That's because each of the cargo holds are designed to store their heavy, or whatever, cargo really, along the side walls here. And each of these sidewalls have their own gravity. So you can see here I can now walk along this wall, and if I was to fly up to that other wall over there, I can walk along here too. The gravity for the two halls inside was basically where I started messing with gravity in the ship. After the latest gravity update, I wanted to see what I could come up with. I very quickly realized it might be nice sort of to have a cargo area where instead of storing it sort of on the bottom of the ship, maybe the sides of the ship, you could have gravity fields set up there. And by the way, that is the airlock that leads to the outside of the ship, in case you were wondering, and it does also have its orange lights to match the one we originally came in, even though they're a bit more orange. So anyway, let's fly back into here, and you can see now our gravity fields are switching as we're flying by different things, and close this door into the cargo hold and head down the hallway some more. And you're seeing now that we're basically in what I call a mini civilian area, especially if you were to check out the lighting setup. I basically used the lights to break up different areas. So these are gravity generators. These are all the different gravity generators to create the different gravity fields for each of the cargo holds in the main walkways of the ship. We got even one for the bridge, our gyroscope. So if we go down to our lights, there we go. We got AL for airlock _ light. So basically I use the lighting in each area to break it up. And the rooms we're in now are called Civ _ light. These are the civilian 1 area, and civilian 2 are basically the small sleeping areas I was showing earlier, where your bridge, or B is bridge, for your bridge. But these as I call them civilian areas, I was sort of thinking if the ship did for some reason need to transport a few civilians somewhere, these would be turned into bed bunks or whatever and allow people to sleep in these, sort of like in a train has its own little booths or whatever you like to call them for people to sort of be on during longer trips. But if there's no civilians on board, these would just simply be used for storing more stuff. Anyway, let's carry on down the ship, and you'll see we keep entering these very similar hallways with more cargo holds. It's mainly a cargo ship. You're going to see a lot of repetition. And if I was to fly up here, you'll notice that this floor, let me actually land on it, there is no door that leads into there. This is just an observation floor, probably the more peaceful of floors if you're not too keen on actually walking about where other people might walk with dirty boots, or however you like to put it. Anyway, let's carry on down the ship all the way to the back so I can show you the engine area, and you'll notice as I'm running along, much more of the same stuff here. Actually, a whole lot more. It ends up feeling like a very long ship while you're running down it. And of course, remember all the while, you could actually be running along that floor up there, and just saving this floor for more of anybody who has to work and carry stuff between cargo holds or anything like that. Then again, I suspect while this ship is in transit, most people who did rent out one of these little booths if need be would just probably stick to their own area, considering it's not the most luxurious trip and and you wouldn't be having a very luxurious trip at that. Anyway, this civilian little bucket here, you can see connects to another little one, and it's not a nice long yellow hallway that could possibly depressurize if the cargo hold was depressurized. That's because right after this one here, it leads into this different hallway. And actually, if we were to fly up, you can see now we're in that large overpass or bridge or whatever you want to call it. And we carry on down to the end of this, and now we're in the engine room. Very nice red engine room, because of course an engine room would be dangerous. And I did something a bit different in this engine room. Unlike most of my ships where I have engines behind engines in every direction, the back-facing engines are the only ones that are stacked up. All the rest ones are just those simple lines we saw on the outside. And also I didn't put any large reactors in here because in my experimentations with small ships, I found that small reactors, if you put 9 of them together, they take up the same amount of space as a large reactor, yet they do not produce any less power. They produce exactly the same amount. And considering we don't currently have to worry about restocking fuel supplies in generators or, reactors, I don't currently see any reason not to just use the small ones and basically save space and be able to fill in small gaps. Which led me to thinking, okay, well, let's alter the overall setup of these, and instead of just having a bunch of reactors stuck right next to together, we'll have gyroscopes, reactors, and so on and so forth, all the way to the bottom where I do have just a sort of bulk of setup. Anyway, now I'm going to run all the way down to the ship, back to the front, and I'll give you guys basically a small idea of how this ship actually maneuvers. I'm actually pretty happy with the ship. It's nice to know that there's all those different gravitational fields. Most of them are set up not to reach out of the ship, with the exception of the ones right there for that area, because I had to put the gravity generator basically in the corner right there. So it sticks out a bit into space, which is unfortunate, but I believe bearable. And this is pretty fun here. Pretty simple switch between the gravity there. You hit that ramp and it sort of pushes you down here. Next thing you know, hey, you're standing again this way. Anyway, here we go. Back in the cockpit, nice area. Still wish I had some custom models for tables and stuff, but I'm sure one day I'll get to those. And now let's pop into the cockpit, and you can see it's I don't know. I'm rather fond of it. I like it a lot. I'm probably my favorite color scheme. But you can see here now we're accelerating, and we're accelerating pretty slowly. It's not the fastest ship ever. If there were warp drives in the game, I'd spend a lot of time making sure this ship had a good warp drive. That way, if it ever found itself in a spot of bother, it could warp out very quickly. But its overall acceleration isn't the best in the world. And also, I just realized something. If you zoom out far enough, the door models seem to disappear. And also light, so a bit strangeness there. Try to ignore that, I will. And you can see now, if I try to maneuver, the ship actually maneuvers pretty well. I'd say it's a pretty well-handling ship, and even if its acceleration might not be the best in the world, I'm actually rather fond of it. And it's also a ship designed to operate within civilian space, a safe area basically, so you wouldn't see this thing flying out into any really dangerous areas, which is the main reason it doesn't have any serious armament and is actually built out of light armor. Anyway, I just felt like sharing this. I shall be putting it up on the Steam Workshop shortly, if you'd like to take a look at it for yourself. Remember, it doesn't actually stop itself from turning them best in the world, pardon my English and eating my own mouth. But I don't know. I just like it. I think it's pretty good for a cargo ship. It doesn't need to be the fastest in the world. It just needs to get itself going at a decent speed and keep on heading in that right direction. Anyway, thanks much everybody for watching. I'll talk to you next time.